Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Making an Impact podcast, your only podcast needed for Impact Wrestling news. I'm your host, as always, Chad Bardo. Woot woot. Joining me, as always, is the cantankerous one, the payday to my Hershey's bar, my almond joy to my Mounds joy. He is the whatchamacallit. He is Zachary Tyler Pew Pew Duncan. Pew 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 pew. Pew 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 pew. Zachary.
Yeah, that's me.
How are you?
I am superb, sir.
Well, that's up to for debate. So we weren't on last week because the UFC had a pay-per-view, and I had to cover it for work. So I was like, Zach, hey, we might not do a show Wednesday. And he's like, oh, that works out for me. And I was like, well, I don't really care if it works out for you. This doesn't involve you. This is about me. And then I wondered for about 4 hours why Zach tolerates my ass. Only 4 hours, but still. So Zachary, we're back for another week. Last week, the Shamrock got his pedals plucked. I hate myself.
Yeah, you should.
Michael Elgin beat him down, and he was removed from the tournament. And insert is Ace Austin, and I'm left going, Porca?
Porca?
Porca? That sounds like a reject Pokemon. Porca! Kill it with fire!
I will say this. If there's not a Shamrock Elgin payoff at some point, then I'm just going to be like, why do this at all?
Well, we do know that from the end of this event, this week's episode, I should say, there's definitely the possibility of that being a thing, thanks to a certain someone going over in the main event. So there's obviously now that opening, but it also kind of makes this tournament now feel a little bit more unimpressive. But let's get to the first match. It's AC Austin versus Rhino. It was a fine match. I think Ace Austin is still coming into his own. He definitely did have the spot of the night when he just dove out of the bottom rope to the ringside floor in like a fucking somersault. And he didn't land right, and everyone knew he didn't land right, so immediately Josh is like, well, lesser of two evils, you jump on your back or you take a gore, and the gore's worse than that. And I'm just sitting here going, it's not, but I'm glad that you're selling it.
Yes.
Because if I'm turning,
way to put something over for once.
Right? Like if I'm turning off my skeptic brain and just go a stupid fan, the gore gonna cut you in half. The floor has padding. But the floor has like half-inch padding, so it's pretty much like holding up a tinfoil cup when you're in a car accident, hoping that's going to stop you. It won't. It's just going to go badly. All the badly. So, Austin, if I remember correctly, this was actually a clean win for him, right? No, he used his
no, he hit Rhino with his stick.
His staff, his bow staff for Rhino.
Yes.
That would have been a better way for this match to end. So, I mean, whatever. I was hoping for Shamrock to win this, and then when I realized that Shamrock was out, I was hoping Rhino would win this, because Rhino versus Tessa would have been a lot of fun, I think. But, I mean, I don't know. So, now after 3 matches, did you watch the matches last week?
No, I did not actually.
Rohit and Trey was a lot of fun, but I don't know what the long-term plans are for Fulton.
Yeah. I did see Rohit and Trey. I watched half of the show and then you texted me that we weren't doing it. So I was like, cool.
So Rohit lost last week. I'm sorry, Trey won. I was hoping Rohit would win because that would have been something different. Hernandez beat Fulton. I think Fulton needs something away from the OVE aesthetic. I like the
Yeah.
half mask. And if he were to wear something like that more often, that would be great. Maybe even do something with his hair. Get more unique ring gear than just looking like a clown. It's like, bro, 2004 called. 1998 wants its look back. Because it's so fucking old that's calling other decades to get to you. So I think Fulton could do for a look upgrade. So, your three of your four final spots are Trey, Ace, and Hernandez. We'll get there eventually, but whether it was Sami or Elgin, this is not a great Final Four, in my opinion. And it had so much potential to be. Like, when you had Rhino, you had Shamrock. Who else got replaced? Moose was in it.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it's like, well, they're all still on the card. Shamrock was there. He filmed a vignette where he got beat down by Elgin. And it's not like he's asking for Brock Lesnar money every time he wrestles. Like, there was no reason not to use him in this tournament except to get over Elgin, which I guess is fine. Maybe set up a feud with him. But, all right, you could have done that in, like, the quarterfinals or the semifinals.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what's the end game? Trey versus Ace? Like, how does that serve anyone? I don't want to see Trey as world champion. And Hernandez had he was super fucking over in 2009. People forget that. Like, he actually had some legitimacy behind him, but he got caught up in the change of bookers. And when he was at the top of his game, that's when they moved on and started to go towards more Hogan and Bischoff, and he completely lost all of his luster. So, like, I don't know. Like, this tournament had me all excited. Now I'm just kind of like, I guess let the winner of Sami and Elgin win it all, because at least then you could give them another accolade. Like, hey, they won a number one contender tournament. They're so much better than everyone else. All right. I feel like that's what they might do with Sami, and I don't know. Maybe they're gonna build up to Sami Tessa a rematch and have Sami go over and take the belt back. I don't know. I'm befuddled. I'm befuddled, confused. It's just a thing, man. It's just a thing. Next up, we got a Josh. Well, how are you feeling about the tournament?
I mean, I have to agree. From the get go, the tournament was kind of a mess because you had Sami and Elgin, and you had Shamrock and Rhino all facing off each other in the first round, which didn't make any sense. And then you got Moose opted himself out, which from a character standpoint I think is still fantastic. I think it's still a great thing for him to do when he's pushing this the TNA World Championship. But then we got a second substitution with Shamrock and Ace Austin, and it's like, yeah, it's the brackets seem to keep progressively getting less illustrious as the weeks go on. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer.
I don't know what the end game here is, but it's not one that has me overly excited. 12 years ago, saying, well, Ace and Trey in the main event would have been super cool, because you're like, oh yeah, two small high flyers. That would be wicked. I don't know. Did we talk like that in 2008? I don't remember. But
somebody did.
Maybe I did. I don't know. But in 2012, it's like, we've seen that match. We've seen that match to death. I don't want to see that match anymore.
Yeah, the whole notion of let's put the smaller guys into the main event because they never get that opportunity. That's long gone. Because that's all we have now. Is that all we have are the wrestling industry right now is just littered with small, young, athletic guys that can run and flip all over the place. So the whole cruiserweight / exhibition wrestler making it to the main event and to the heavyweight title or the world title or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have that same appeal anymore because it happens all the time now.
There is one idea that I have. It'll piss some people off who just go, well, then what was the point of the tournament? Let's just say Ace Austin wins the whole thing, just for shits and giggles. So Ace beats whoever, and then like he's like, yeah, I'm the champ. Now this can go one of two ways depending on availability. But then Ace wins. He's like, I'm gonna face the Tessa, and then Moose comes out and he goes, oh, I'm in the tournament now. And Ace is like, wait, what? And then Moose just fucking gores him or spears him, whatever the fuck he calls it, and then pins him, and then he's now the number one contender. Like, fuck you. Like, that would be awesome. Like, Moose just shortcuts the entire tournament and does whatever the fuck he wants. Do the same idea, however, with a debuting major star. I don't know who's available. I don't know who you would want to go get. You know, let's just say for the sake of argument, you know, I'm not saying it's going to be, but this is like the name that I can think of that I know no one has signed. Like, what if CM Punk just shows up and goes, I'm the new number one contender, and then fucking, you know, hits the GTS on Ace Austin, and he's now the number one contender. It's not CM Punk, obviously. But the idea, the theory is that someone would debut, and then there would be a secondary tournament match, if you will, or tertiary, quadrilateral tournament match where Ace Austin would lose the tournament crown to the debuting wrestler. I don't know who that would be. I don't know who's available. You know, contracts are popping up all the time. You know, Jeff Cobb could be the guy. Jay Lethal, I don't fucking know. You know, we just found out that Ricky Starks of the NWA is a free agent. We know Drew Gulak's a free agent, but we also know that both those guys were not free agents when these tapings started. At least with Starks, I don't assume he was. He might have been, and they just waited until they did their last show to announce it. But like, there's like a cacophony of guys that you could bring in to be the new number one contender who's a debuting name. And if they did that following the tournament, that could work because you are looking to find airtime to fill, so a tournament's a good way to do it. And then you debut a brand new name, bring in some controversy. Maybe that person wins over Tessa, and maybe they lose. But either way, it sets up, you know, possibly something with Ace Austin down the road. Or even a triple threat with Ace Austin, Tessa, and whoever this person is.
Yes.
That's the only way that this tournament excites me. Yes.
What if not a new debuting name, but a returning name?
Who do you have in mind?
Say, like, in EC3?
See, now that would be interesting. I don't know if you know this. There are rumors of EC3 possibly going to AEW with the former Revival.
I would not be surprised.
Mike Bennett, however, could be a name like that. I don't know. See, here's the thing. I don't remember when those dudes were released and when this was taped. Because I think it was like the same week, but I could be wrong. Now, then you also have to go into the idea of how do you circumvent the 90 days in that situation? Like, let's say that they were released on a Friday and this was taped on a Saturday. You can call Mike Bennett, be like, come in. Do you have to wait 90 days to air that material, or can he not work at all for 90 days? And that's going to be a situation. Now, either way, that would make it more it would make it more likely that it would be an EC3 or a Mike Bennett, because even if you have to wait 90 days for them to show up, that still basically takes you to 2 weeks into the next set of tapings. So it kind of, it doesn't really make sense time-wise unless there's something about their non-compete that got thrown out that they don't need to worry about. So, like, I don't know. Like, contractually, like that could be a lot of different things. But maybe it's someone like James Storm or who else is a former Impact World Champion? I don't know. Who's still unsigned? Everyone's signed.
Right? Is Storm not with NWA anymore?
He is, but I guarantee you he doesn't have a closed contract. He can probably work wherever he wants.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson was a free agent at the time of this. I mean, it's not going to excite people like CM Punk or Kenny Omega, but it's a hell of a lot better than Ace Austin or Trey Miguel.
Yeah.
Especially just for the promos alone. Oh, jeez. All right, so let's move on. Speaking of, like I said, the most obvious in that scenario would just be Moose.
Right.
He did honest to God, Moose might be my 2020 Wrestler of the Year and my 2020 Mic Worker of the Year because he's been so fantastic as this uncrowned TNA World Champion. It's hard not to love it. And the way Josh is instigating him, and Moose is just like, Josh, I will smack you. and then like Madison Rain is digging on Josh on commentary. Like, why would you go after Moose like that? You know he'd kill you. Like, it was great. How are you digging the Moose segments?
I really like the Moose segments because I like that they could very easily just do Josh asks a question and Moose just storms off. But I like that they give him time to put himself over and put over the idea of him being the TNA World Champion before he says, Josh, if I stay here any second longer, I'm going to kill you. So I'm going to leave. Which I feel like most people have that same kind of interaction with Josh Matthews on and off the camera.
I know, I would.
Cannot confirm or deny. I just get a feel.
Yeah, he strikes me as the guy that no one likes, but everyone tolerates.
Yeah.
Last week we got 2 debuts in Kimberly and Real Steel, Tasha Steeles. She actually popped up on the NWA for a little while.
Oh, okay.
She's in Atlanta. They filmed this in Atlanta, and she's an Atlanta-based talent, so that makes sense why she'd be here. And considering they filmed about 12 weeks worth of content, it makes sense that they would bring someone locally in, even if she's not under contract, to be used for that entire length of time. That'll be good exposure for her. It's going to get her paid for a bunch of weeks. Plus, it gives Kira something to do, which is going to be interesting. And also, they announced that Su Yung has re-signed with Impact, so expect to see her more on your screens. And they re-signed Susie as well, apparently.
Hmm. Well, what do you think about that?
I think someone in payroll doesn't understand the idea of dual personalities. And I think someone is now getting 2 paychecks. Oh, jeez. So the Knockouts division is getting pretty stacked at the moment. I don't remember the last time there's been this many women. Let me see if they have all of the women listed. So we got Alicia, Havoc, Jordan, Katie Forbes, Kira, Kylie, Madison Rain, Rosemary, Su Yung, Tasha Steeles, Taya, Tennille Dashwood, and Tessa Blanchard. Did I not see Kimberly? I do not see Kimberly. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Counting Kimberly, who's not listed on the roster page yet. That's 14. 15 if you count Susie. 16 if you count Melissa Santos. That's a deep Knockouts division. I don't think Melissa Santos has talked about getting back in the ring before. I don't know how likely that is and how much she wants to. So, that's a deep division, though. 14 active wrestlers, 15 active personalities. But right now, Alicia's not there because she just recently adopted a little girl and she didn't want to travel during the pandemic, so that makes sense. Jordan's not there. Katie Forbes, I don't think, is there. I know Kylie's there. Is Su Yung there? Have we seen Susie?
We have not for a few weeks at least.
Was she at the pay-per-view? Or the TV pay-per-view, I should say?
I don't believe so, because I think it was just Kylie Ray and Kira Hogan and Rosemary and Havoc.
Right. We know Madison's there. We know Kylie's there. We know Kira Hogan's there. We know Havoc's there. We know Rosemary's there because she's doing all these vignettes. Tasha Steelz is there. I think Tennille's there. So they have about half their Knockouts roster there.
Yeah. Still no sign, no mention of Jordan Grace.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. I'm not sure why. Madison Rain even suggested, or asked, like, would they? I'm sorry, no, I confused myself. I thought that's what she said, but I thought she meant, are they going to do a Knockouts tournament? And Josh is like, no, why would they? But what she really asked was, are they going to do a TNA World Title tournament? And then Josh said, no, why would they? That's my bad.
Yeah.
Although Madison Rain is right, they should absolutely do a TNA World Title tournament. Maybe they will do a Knockouts tournament. You got Havoc, Kira, Kylie, Madison, Rosemary, Tasha Steelz, Tennille. You need one extra name, and you can do it. Or you can just use, I don't know if Sue Young was there, or was there, I should say. But you got 7 names, Just if you want to do it, you could find a local town and make 8, and off you go.
Yeah.
Who knows? So yeah, now let's move on. We got 2 tickets to paradise. I don't remember the rest of that song. Dave Crist takes on Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve is fantastic. He's jacked, bulked up, looking fit, firm, and feisty.
He looks good. He looks good.
Looks solid. Looks crazy. Looks a little kooky. I will always love the Crists, especially when, who was it, Dave? When they were feuding with Pentagon and Phoenix. And Dave's like, they're ghosts! And Sam's like, they're not ghosts, Dave. And Dave's like, you weren't there, man. You weren't there. Oh, I gotta find that fucking skit. That was like my favorite thing Ovie's ever done. So Crazy Steve gets the win, and Madman Fulton basically says, I'm gonna break up with you. Jake and Dave like, you can't break up with us. We break up with you. And Sawyer's like, bitch, I twice your size combined. I'm a Megazord, you Power Ranger. And then he proceeded to chokeslam the bitches. So OVE is OVER. Thank you, Crazy Steve. But I feel like this isn't the end of OVE because, one, OVE is technically Jake and Dave Crist as well. They are a tag team under the OVE name.
Yes, those two debuted first by themselves as OVE.
Yes.
Before Sami and before Fulton.
I think the best thing to do is to retool OVE with 3 new names attached to the Crist brothers. I don't have an idea who the third person would be of this new list, but I would like to see OVE incorporate Triple XL as their heavies. I think that would be a good kind of like OVE is going to be bigger and better. We're not going to rely so much on Sami Callihan's craziness or Sawyer Fulton's singularity. We're going to make sure that there's 2 Sawyer Fultons at all time watching our backs who are loyal to a fault. And then you bring in a third name. I don't know who that is. You could do like a shock and bring in like a, like have Trey break up the Rascals or like leave the Rascals and like sign with or side with them. That would be interesting. But whoever that third person is should be someone that Impact sees as a world title, main event, headline, building block type character. Because I feel like the Crist brothers are too good to minimize in a rudimentary singular role. Like they should be one of the top echelon groups in the company, regardless of who's in it. So whoever is joining them should be of that ilk as well. Someone that you have that much value in. Or just have Jake and Dave Crist still be part of OVE, but go in singles directions, allowing Triple XL to be the quote-unquote tag team of OVE. I think that could work too, but it's just an opinion. What do you think of the match and the subsequent fallout?
The match was good. I like Crazy Steve is good to see back in there. I'm still very interested to see what happens if and when he crosses paths with Rosemary again.
Yes, me too.
She's full-blown succubus. But the OVE stuff, Fulton leaving, I'm not upset about because not upset about him leaving OVE because I feel like he never really did anything for them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
As a giant monster, he never really came across as that imposing. Probably because he lost all the time, and
Yeah.
not just DQ losses, just straight up clean losses to people.
Bitch got pinned.
Yeah.
Here's an idea. I'm going to throw this at you. So we're talking
Okay.
about bringing back ideas, bringing back former wrestlers, your Chase Stevens, your Andy Douglases, your Chris Harrises, and all that. Chris Harris, that's who comes back for the title tournament. That would be funny as hell. Here's an idea. What if Rosemary and Crazy Steve reunite as the Decay, and they bring in Sawyer Fulton as their new heavy? You repackage Sawyer Fulton's entire look, and you pair him with Crazy Steve as the new Decay tag team.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
That would be interesting. I could see them doing something like that. Rosemary bring back the yellow mist of reincarnation, or what the fuck it was. I'm the only problem I have with that is, and maybe this could be a big turnaround from Fulton, but I still feel like Fulton now is a step down from where Abyss was in 2015 when
17,
that happened.
I think 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And
with bad knees and all, no mobility, I still would take Abyss over Fulton.
Well, on one hand, I agree with you, because when you have Abyss, you have someone who has just all kinds of intelligence inside the ring and how to get people over. But honestly, if we're going just pure work rate to work rate, Sawyer Fulton now is better than Abyss then, in terms of just pure talent.
Right.
But in terms of knowing what to do, no, he's not. But I feel like Crazy Steve, he's on the other side of 35, I think. Rosemary's 34. They've both been in the game for a long time. So even if Sawyer Fulton's been in, whether it's been 10 years, 5 years, 14 months, 2 decades, whatever, I feel like Crazy Steve and Rosemary could really help Sawyer Fulton find his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think one of the things he needs to change is his name. I don't think Sawyer or Fulton is really that imposing. So I think pairing him with Rosemary and giving him a chance to rebook or reimagine how he's presented is a good way to go. I like the idea of him having a half mask all the time. Kind of like, what was Rikishi's name back in the day in like 95? The Sultan? Remember the Sultan gimmick?
I don't actually.
Google it.
Let's look up Rikishi.
It was the gimmick Rock faced Rikishi at WrestleMania when Rikishi was the Sultan.
Yeah, it was the Sultan.
Which was hilarious because the Sultan's very much a Middle Eastern term and Rikishi's very much Samoan.
Yes.
Vince McMahon just thinks all brown people are the same. So, go figure. The look was great. I liked the look. The name, not so much. He had like this like bluish, tealish half mask, right?
Let's see. Rikishi the Sultan. It's actually like red and half white.
Well, there might have been.
It does. I mean, it looks pretty damn cool.
I would like to
see.
Cool one. I would like to see something like that, only with Fulton's skull half mask, that fabric one he wears, but like do that with like more of a physical kind of face mask look, and then like do like some kind of like face paint to complement it, kind of like what we saw with Pentagon, only the inverse, where Pentagon wears a mask and then paints his mouth. This would be a mask around the mouth, and then Fulton would paint his face. I think that would be a great look, and then like shave down the sides of his heads and get rid of the dreadlocks. And just have him kind of have like a mohawk. I think that would be really, really, really good as far as the look goes. And then you can come up with some name like Demigod or Demogorgon or Paul Bunyan. I don't give a fuck. Just something different than Sawyer Fulton. And I think what you would then do is then put him in a match with someone like Moose, where even if he loses, he still looks good because the match would be that good. And I think Moose has gotten to a point where he's capable of handling matches like that. And if you don't kind of remember, Moose really kind of started to move up that pantheon because of his matches with Alberto El Patron.
Mm-hmm.
Those matches really made people see Moose in a whole new light. And another example of that whole new light was, remember when Tyson Tomko came into Tyson Tomko came into TNA back in 2007?
Yeah, with Christian.
Yeah. Well, before October of 2007, no one really gave a shit about him. But then he went on and had a feud with Abyss, where they had a match at Slammiversary 07 that damn near stole the show. And then all of a sudden, people started to glom onto Tomko, and then you go into all the stuff with AJ Styles as tag team champions. They were fantastic. I think this was right after he and Steiner did their thing. Get my burgers! Get my burgers! I'm hungry! So I think that would be the way to go, is to have Fulton do a program with Moose for the TNA World title. Just have them go balls out in a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match where Fulton is encouraged to just take mad risks and get himself over. Then have Moose win, retain the belt, quote unquote, retain the belt, and then have them kind of do their whole thing from there. So let's move on. Further down the line, we got Rosemary hanging out with Johnny Bravo. Now, apparently, Rosemary and Johnny Bravo spent time together back in the day at the Can-Am Wrestling School. Because Scott Demore tweeted out a comment. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, said if anyone from the old Can-Am days ever thought that Rosemary and Johnny Bravo would have a thing, and no one saw that coming. So it's interesting that these two are have such an actual history, and they're doing this bit together. And I love that Johnny Bravo called her a succubus. No, I know your game, succubus. And Rosemary just kind of looked at him like, you'd be lucky to get sucked by this biss. And the best part is she had like a little Pomeranian toy.
Mm-hmm. A little Pomeranian toy with like a devil horn on it.
That was fantastic. And then she steals the Pomeranian toy is Mr. Mundo.
Yes,
which is great. Johnny Impact, he lives. So she's got possession of him, and now there's going to be some type of romance angle between Rosemary and Johnny Bravo. And I love it. We've seen that you enjoy being belittled by the way the Valkyrie deals with you. She loves me. You keep telling yourself that. Rosemary's acting kind of heelish. Could this be the return of the Decay? I would love that.
No.
I would love that so goddamn much. I'm very happy that we got all the Rosemary-ness that we're getting, because she might be the best promo in the company.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I'm glad we're at least getting that. I don't even know if she's. Oh no, she's there. We saw her in the pay-per-view match. Never mind.
Yeah.
I will say she has some competition with Cody Deaner and Ethan Page. Get her!
That's true.
Dude, the quarantine promo videos that Cody Deaner's been doing have been amazing. Sometimes you got to work out, and then you see him like strutting down the side of the road. Oh my God, Cody Deaner, you are. I will say this: do you kind of get like an early '90s WWE vibe with like the type of roster that Impact has assembled? Like if it was more modernized.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got some pretty outlandish gimmicks, like in your Desi Hit Squad and your Cody Deaner. You got some great grapple-tastic tag teams in the North, you have your Yokozuna type wrestler, the one who stands out no matter who's in the ring in Falaba. You have a great crop of great wrestling talents that don't necessarily have a lot of charisma. And then you have a lot of guys with a lot of charisma that aren't exactly great wrestling talents. It just kind of feels like WWF circa 1993, only if it was modernized.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like Warrior and Hogan, you got Shamrock and Rob Van Dam. Not exactly the same type of draws, but like we're talking in-ring acumen at this point in their careers. Yeah, I think that's comparable. To be fair, I think RVD and Shamrock today are as good as Hogan and Warrior then. Just to be clear. Next up, we got Triple XL versus TJP and Falaba. Falaba's weight loss has gone fantastically. He is so much better in the ring than he ever was.
He is.
The little stunt he did where like he barrel rolled out of the way of Larry, whatever his name is, and then like
they did a cartwheel.
Yeah, then he fucking did a cartwheel, like barrel rolls and cartwheels. Who are you, Slippy from Star Fox? No barrel roll. That's actually Pepe, but still, like that's fantastic. And I remember when he debuted in 2017 with Mario Baccarat. Dude, fucking Bach couldn't move for shit. Now he can, and it's super impressive. Definitely dug the match they had with Triple XL. TJP he's really been on fire, and I really do like his theme. And I'm not a big TJP fan, but I really feel like TJP has brought in a certain stability in a time where the company is definitely seeing a lot of turnover. Having someone like TJP who can wrestle in tag matches, singles matches, who can win over Elgin and not feel weird or lose to guys like, Larry D and not make it feel, like he's getting jobbed. I think that's a very valuable commodity, even if I think his opinions are trash. Any thoughts on the Triple XL TJP Falaba match?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I obviously agree with everything you're saying. Ba continues to improve and get better and better. TJP is becoming that great utility player where you can just put him in any match and it doesn't feel like a mismatch with anyone. Like if he's getting the upper hand on the main event guys or if he's losing to just the mid card guys, it feels natural and it feels like it makes sense.
Versatility.
Yeah.
TJP and Falaba get the win. I wouldn't mind seeing them feud with the North in an extended program. I think part of the problem is TJP I don't think is technically under contract, because that was like one of the big things I remember hearing at the time was TJP wasn't looking to sign a new contract. He just wanted to work. So he was going to work for a bunch of places. So I don't know like if you want to put the belt on him and then risk AEW or WWE coming back calling. So, yeah, I don't know. Or if New Japan does get the New Japan USA up and running, TJP would be a guy who would fit into the brand style that they're looking for. And he has a lot of experience already in Japan. So there are some risk factors about putting the belts on TJP and Falaba. But here's hoping that if they did do it, he would stick around at least for the length of the run, if not longer. Then we get Moose coming out and threatening David Penzer, and Penzer announces it's the world title, but it's not a sanctioned match, and then it's Moose versus Suicide. I have a theory that Suicide is Crazy Steve. What do you think?
I could see that. I could see that because I mean, Suicide isn't. He's still got some of the signature Suicide maneuvers, like the Spider-Man into the middle and the top and middle ropes and stuff like that. But he's not flying around all over the place like one of the Rascals or like a TJP or something. So I could see that. I could see it be Crazy Steve because he does seem a little more reserved than what one would expect.
And he's also a bit bigger. Now, let's be clear. Suicide's never been one person.
Right.
Kiyoshi, Daniels, Kazarian, TJP, Austin Aries.
Yeah.
He's always been a Caleb Conley, so there's always been someone underneath the mask throughout his lineage. That's kind of what makes him so unique, is that he is the perfect kind of conglomerate to get someone on TV who may not have much of a personality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's playing Suicide, but he does seem a bit bigger, and he isn't as dynamic as past versions, but he is more dynamic than the Caleb Conley version, I will say that much. So this could be Crazy Steve, it could be Dez, it could be Wentz, it could be AC Romero for all we know. Which, by the by, is a joke that Sami Callihan is perpetuating on Twitter, saying that AC is suicide. It's fantastic.
Is that part of his IC gimmick, or him having a good time?
I think that's him having a good time, because AC is a good friend of Sami. They're all from that same region, so.
Right.
Suicide ends up making a comeback after Moose brutalized him for most of the match. It was a good back and forth eventually. He misses a swanton, but Moose rolls him up and grabs the tights to win. So they're really putting over Suicide really hard, even though I don't think he has the fan support to be put over as hard as he is. But I could be wrong. I know I mark for Suicide.
And it's hard right now. It's hard to tell who just has the fan support because there's nobody there.
What? No.
It makes it a little tougher to gauge these things right now.
You are not incorrect. Moose ends up getting the win, and he retains his title. So then we get Elgin. He's cutting a promo about how he beat up on the Shamrock. Impact's Twitter account posted part of his comment that was actually pretty good from the promo. He says, "I remember a time when Muhammad Ali said he would be the greatest boxing heavyweight champion, and you hated it. I remember a time when Conor McGregor said he was going to be the best fighter there ever was, and you hated it. Just like me." This promo would have worked a lot better if Elgin didn't then go out and lose to Sami Callihan. We'll get there.
No, Elgin won.
I thought Callihan won.
No, Sami could lose big matches after coming back with a fresh new gimmick.
Oh, then apologies to Elgin.
That makes it.
That gimmick, that promo then works really well. But we're not there yet in the main event. Chris Bay is talking to Johnny Swinger, and Johnny Swinger just wants a friend. Madison Rain just wants him to find a friend because they're co-hosts. Well, she's the host, he's the co-host, and she makes a point of saying that. Chris Bay comes up to Johnny Swinger and says that even if he doesn't win the X Division Championship from Willie Mack, he can still win the match. Swinger then goes on and actually has a really fun match with Willie Mack. I enjoyed this, even though it wasn't some long back and forth Kenny Omega Okada match. And Mack ends up retaining cleanly, and then Chris Bay runs out and definitely proves that I was wrong ever thinking he was a face. So he beats down on Willie Mack, and then he and Johnny Swinger leave together. They are now best friends. At least canonically, that's what I'm telling myself. Headcanon best friends, Chris Bay, Johnny Swinger. Although I would like to see more disco in Johnny Swinger.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's just a great team.
Right? Like that just seems like a natural fit. So at some point they showed a quarantine video for Cody Deaner, but I don't see it listed on the page. So maybe I saw last week's and just thought it was this week's. So
the Deaner North segment?
No, just Deaner's quarantine segment.
Oh.
That must have been last week.
Yeah, I don't think there was a Deaner quarantine this week.
So, All Ego, Ethan Page, and Josh Alexander are hanging out at the Battle Arts Academy. They've rented it for the entire month because of how cheap it was, and now Ethan Page doesn't know what to do with it. Josh Alexander wants to go home. He's clearly annoyed by Ethan Page, and he's basically saying, I don't want to wrestle anymore because the guys we're beating up are scrubs. Josh Alexander's only here to wrestle against the top of the top. Then all of a sudden, the referee with no legs rolls in, and Ethan starts giving him a hard time. Then Cody Deaner pops in. And Cody's like, you two and I, next week at the Diener compound, me and Wheels Diener are gonna take care of you. And then Ethan looks at the referee, who's in a wheelchair because he has no, he doesn't have any legs beneath his knees. So Ethan thinks that it's the referee he's talking about, and he and Josh go, okay, next week at the Diener compound, enjoy the facility. We rented it for the rest of the month, and then they leave. And then the referee's like, Cody, I appreciate it, but like I'm not a wrestler, and this is like I damn near choked up when he says that. Like, I forget the guy's name. I think it was like Carl or something like that. He goes, Carl, I know who you are. I know your name. I'm not gonna call you Wheels. That's disrespectful. No, my tag team partner is someone completely different. And like that was really endearing. It was like a little thing that showed that like, Diener's like a little kooky in the head, but he's also like really, really compassionate. And I was like, I love that. Like, that's such a great little thing to add to the segment. So we're going to be getting a new Diener cousin next week, and I'm so excited. I'm so hoping it's Chris Harris with an eye patch. This is Wildcat Diener.
Return of Braden Walker.
This is Walker Diener. Oh, wait, what was Walker, Texas? What was that show's name?
Yeah, Walker, Texas Diener.
Canada Walker Diener. Oh, goddamn. It would be Walker Canada Diener. Because he's Canadian Walker Diener. It'd actually be, it'd be Wheels Canadian Diener. Or Wheels Canadian Diener. Because that's what he called him. Wheels Diener. I'm really excited about next week's show. Just for that segment alone. Oh, it's going to be dumb, and I love it. Cam. The referee is Cam. That's the name of the referee. And Diener reveals the Wheels is not Cam, the referee. So, Wheels Diener. I really don't know who that's going to be, and I cannot fucking wait for it. So, I did miss the end of the main event, but I thought I read the results correctly. The first 10 minutes was great, and then I had to walk away because I had to get ready for our Tuesday night show. Elgin apparently defeated Sami Callihan. So, what were the thoughts on how it ended?
Well, Elgin hits Sami with the Elgin bomb. Clean 1, 2, 3. It was a good match. It was a very like old school feel match because Sami was still selling the ankle throughout the entire thing. So it was I dug it. I definitely dug it.
Now, they were promoting this in the thumbnails and all that as a bracket buster. So even though Sami does lose, it's kind of presented more of an upset. Making it a lot easier for Sami to get his heat back eventually. Now, this kind of makes it obvious how this is going to go. Elgin's going to beat Trey, Hernandez will beat Ace, and then Elgin will defeat Hernandez, thus showing how powerful he is. If I'm wrong, all right. I don't know now what they're going to do with Elgin and Shamrock, so that'll be interesting. I think of all these, like, in descending order, Elgin would obviously be the most preferred because he and Tessa, he would obviously be the one to beat Tessa, I think.
Right.
Trey would be interesting because I think he is a lot of fun with the Rascals. Are Wentz and Dez there? Were they at the pay-per-view?
I believe so. I believe we've seen Wentz and Dez.
I think they are because
there was the Treehouse segment with Triple XL showing up along with Ba and TJP.
But was that before or after the pay-per-view?
That's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm questioning right now.
There's questions, thoughts, and I'm not sure about. Then Ace, then Hernandez. That's my descending order for who I'd like to see face off with Tessa eventually. Hernandez, you're 43, dude. You had your peak run a decade ago, and Hogan killed it. So I know it sucks, but you missed your window, kid. Like what do you want me to do? Those trunks were baller, by the way. If he were to go back to them, maybe, but the LAX aesthetic, I don't think works for him as a headliner.
No,
I
don't think so either.
If he were to go back to those 09 trunks that he had, maybe. I mean, crazier things have happened. So this week's show is over. We've concluded the review. Any thoughts on this show there, Thackeray?
No, not really. I think we've pretty much covered it. It's just there's still I still just have the lingering thought every week as to like there's no mention of Jordan Grace or the Noctus Championship whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have plenty of knockouts that are there. You know, we already went through Rosemary, Kylie Ray, Kira Hogan, Havoc. You know, a similar tournament like this could be done. You know, something. You know, bring back like now probably wouldn't be the best time to bring back the knockouts title because we are dealing with half of the knockouts roster, but there's
you mean the tag team titles?
Yeah, the tag team title.
I think I do agree with you, but I also feel like if there's enough local talent that you can pull from that have some kind of value, I mean I wouldn't be against it, especially if you have like Jordan doing like the post game commentary because they have that new show, that post show that airs on YouTube with Jimmy Jacobs and Don Callis. You also have now a new show debuting after Impact on Access called Impact in 60, I think is what it's called, where basically like it's another version of their highlight show where they're like, hey, remember when Kurt Angle was in TNA? I would like them to actually produce more content besides just doing rehashed of old stuff. Like they did a great DVD called The Asylum Years Volume 1 or Year 1. Or Year 1 TNA or something like that. Like that was great. We never got a follow-up though. You know, we got a top 100 moments in 2006.
Yeah, we did.
How about we get a new top 100 moments 14 years later?
Wasn't the top 100 hosted by fucking Christian Cage?
No, he did something. I think he did like a top 10 moments. The top 100 moments was kind of like a documentary, not a documentary. It was like, number 48, the first cage match, and then they would talk to AMW and the Naturals. Or they would be like, Rhino debuts, number 24, and then Raven would be like, yeah, I was there. Why are you here? Why aren't we talking to Rhino? All right, good. Number 52, DDP shows up, and then Raven's like, hey, you know how old DDP is? His social security number is 1. His first ID was a rock. And I'm like, Raven, you're as old as he is. What are you doing? But it was fucking terrible and awesome, and I loved it. The Asylum Years was pretty good, the one that I have. Cage did do something. I forgot what he did, but it wasn't. He didn't host the 100 moments. He may have hosted like a TV special version of it, but the DVD version, no. But he may have done something on Spike TV where he hosted something. I know he had his own DVD sets. He may have hosted. I think it was like Christian Cage because that's how I roll or something like that.
Yeah. I definitely remember him like talking about, it might have just been like end of the year review shows or something.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely remember him talking about like being out in the ring, putting himself over, and then like the top moment had nothing to do with him at all.
It may have been. I'll have to see, and because I'm in the mood now to watch that DVD, so I may just, you may get a text from me in 2 hours going, you were right, or ha, you were wrong. I am the kind of guy that would text you at 1 a.m. just say you're wrong.
You would.
You wake up groggily, your phone vibrating, you're like, either my parents have been involved in some grotesque injury, or it's Chad telling me to, yep, it's Chad telling me I'm wrong. Every fucking time. So, yeah, that's about it for this week's show. Unless you got anything else you want to pontificate on?
No, I'm good.
Tomorrow, reminder, we are going to be on twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. We're talking Scoob. I got to watch that this weekend. I'll also be giving my official review on The Addams Family, finally. We're also going to be talking about the Stargirl premiere, as well as Batwoman. Out.
Oh, that's so funny.
Fucking perfect. We are not doing Why the Last Man next week because we have a lot of reviews to actually do this week, so we're going to hold off. So that means, Zachary, you are on deck the week after, next week. The show after, I mean. We're doing the second arc.
Okay.
So just so you know, like we're not doing any advancing on the reading this week because we have too much other stuff to review this week. So be sure to tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. as Marcus and I talk about Scoob, the Addams Family, Stargirl, Batwoman, and so much other nonsense. Zachary, where can they find you? No, that's my job. You can be found on Instagram and DeviantArt at Radiance2020, RADIANCE2020. All right.
Correct.
There it is. I was waiting for confirmation. I always wait. It's the thing I do with Marcus. He always says that's the kid, and that's when I know I can go on. You can find me on mine at Chad Nerdcorp on Twitter, ChadNerdCorp, and on Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. Our WCW this week was Amy Smart, and our wrestler of the week was I forgot. Falaba. I remembered. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it, you can do so by going to realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdcorp.com. I'm going to do a top 10 ranking, I think, on the top young Impact prospects or the top non-world champion prospects for eventual world championship dumb. I think I might do that while I watch old TNA tonight. That might be my plan. I got 4 other columns I got to do for work. I'll just post those, schedule them for tomorrow while I work on the Impact one as well. Then... you can also find us on Podbean at realnerdcorp.podbean.com. You can download all our past shows on there straight to your computer. But if you want to take us on the go, you can do so by downloading the Podbean app, signing up for a free profile, going to Real Nerdcorp on the app, downloading the past podcasts to your mobile device, and take us wherever you want to go with us. We are going to be in your back pocket. We're going to be in your eardrums. We're going to be in your brain. We're going to be in your nightmares. So, have fun. Enjoy. Yeah, I think that's everything. Be sure to just follow us on our social medias so you know when we post new content. So for Zachary Tyler, P.P. Duncan, I'm Chad Barr. This has been Making an Impact. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. And remember to watch more wrestling. Zach, take us home.
Good night, Ovie.